Eliot Clough and David Eickholt here on this. Is it Wednesday? Yeah, it's Wednesday. Losing track of time these days, Dave, I was telling you before or yesterday that I'm doing engagement photo shoots tonight with Rachel. So I have been a little less than available as opposed to where I otherwise would be. And oh my God, stress. So losing track of time. But it is David Eickholt and Eliot Clough here on this Wednesday. Talk a little bit of football, of course. Iowa dropping that 16-13 loss on last Saturday to Iowa State. UMass coming up here this weekend in Kinnick Stadium. David, we would almost be remiss to not continue to talk about the passing offense right away. Of course.
Yep.
I mean, like what else are we going to talk about at this point? Kirk always measured, very much just saying everybody's still getting used to one another. Which, yeah, there were a couple things that Mark said on Tuesday regarding the fact that Iowa State just kind of got lucky on the first slow mesh that they ran because they wanted to throw the ball deep. Mentioned Seth Anderson. If they connect, that's a 70-some yard touchdown pass. I mean, what do you make of what they've said since the loss regarding the passing game? Because I mean, no matter what they say, it's not going to be good enough, right? They have to put it on the field. But like, what do you make of what we've heard since Saturday?
I mean, it's a no-win situation until they go out and sling the rock, right? And ultimately just be better. And Elliot, let's just call it what it is. If they go out and throw for 300 yards against UMass, does that change anything? I mean, really, does that change expectations moving forward? I don't really think so. I think they need to show up against Rutgers, and I think the big test is going to be obviously at Indiana. I thought Mark looked noticeably better, especially when I rewatched the film compared to how he did week one. Like, I thought it was a significant step forward, and I get it. Mark's going to get the majority of the blame here, right? He's the quarterback. He's the guy who's getting paid to be at Iowa, etc. I got to tell you, Elliot, I don't think he's the biggest issue with the offense. In fact, I would put him probably fourth on my list of top three things right now. I think the receiver play, I think we've been just deceived a little bit as to how far along the wide receiver core is. Now, there's no doubt if they have Reese Van Der Zee, I do think that was going to be the security blanket for Mark Gronowski this season. He doesn't fix everything, but you have another go-to guy. I think he'd be wide receiver one. Losing Aston Estrango, I think, is going to be huge. I don't care about what the numbers say. He's been reliable in run blocking. He's a guy that has come up with some big catches before. I think Kirk's comments yesterday were as critical of the passing game and as negative as I've heard him in a long time. Like, I don't know about you. I think he expected it to be a lot better at this stage of the season. Yeah, I know it's early in the season, but you could tell he was frustrated with the fact the receivers are running short of the sticks. He goes, we're not teaching them that. And it almost seemed like he was really challenging the receivers. And I do think route running has been a huge problem for this Iowa team. I think Mark needs to sling it downfield and take some more risks. And I think, I'm not saying this is the coaching staff. This is the reason why he's holding back. But the coaching staff has to live with it. Like, if you throw it downfield and they intercept it, Elliot, and they make a diving play on the ball, that's the equivalent of a punt in my mind. You throw it 45, 50 yards downfield, it's like, okay, you punted it, right? But at least you stretched out the defense, made some things happen. I counted at least 4 drops on film for Iowa. The drops were a big deal. I think Mark's completion percentage is hovering more around 64. If some of those catches where I'm not talking about like they had to go down low to grab it. I'm talking the ones where they're hitting them right in the chest. Perfect throw. They have to come up with it, right? I think that's a big problem. I also think when it comes to Mark, I think he is missing some open receivers as far as like, he doesn't know where the receivers are going to be when he's going through his progression. So, maybe we attribute this to him not being available in the spring. I think the lack of cohesiveness overall in terms of the passing offense is a big deal. And I said in my post-game podcast with Tyler Kluver, Elliott, I thought it was Tim Lester's worst called game of his Iowa career thus far. I did not like the way they were trying to start things out. And I think one easy way to fix it run that slow mesh. Iowa State had no idea what the hell was going on with that. When you looked at the backdrop, I know you did your Monday morning quarterback, and they had that back angle when they were running that slow mesh. Did you see the look on the linebackers' faces when Iowa was doing that? They were like, they didn't know what was going on. So I really think they should have done more of that. So again, Mark's an issue, but you're right. I don't know what Iowa's supposed to say at this point, but there are clearly levels on levels of issues. And if I'm Iowa against UMass on Saturday, throw the ball 40 damn times. Get the in-game reps. I don't care if you're up 40-0. You have to keep running it. Well, that's kind of, running it as in they have to throw the ball.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Yes,
yeah.
Okay. Good thought to clarify.
Yeah, good call. I was like, but I can, like, I would bet my house that they don't.
Oh, same. Oh, yeah, they're not.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. This is the one thing that I would say that I noticed the most in my rewatch was I just watched the broadcast, the same broadcast that they had for the game, and Joel Klatt continually hammering they're not passing the ball downfield. Now, there are a couple things to that. Is that Tim Lester's play calling, or is it the receivers knowing their options and actively choosing not to run these deep routes? Because Iowa State, I mean, you could see it, especially in the second half. They just have their DBs lined up at 10 yards, and they're not even thinking about backpedaling. I mean, they didn't have to. Why would you? And I haven't been able to listen to the A&F podcast. We both really appreciate those guys. I mean, I've been on it. They're awesome. One thing that I did see on Twitter is that they pointed to Lester running the same concept on multiple third and however much yards, running straight into Marcus Neal, a defender, on a run play. And I'm confused because everybody turns in those situations and says, what's the common denominator in these offenses? It's Kirk Ferentz, right? And like, that's fair. And it makes sense. At the same time, Tim Lester has supposedly been given the reins, and is he making these calls? Because we've been told that he is, or this offense he's brought in is supposed to be NFL-like. It's supposed to be a move in the right direction. He's supposed to be the guy that understands the offense and can help it move. And is it really this deep and intricate where receivers aren't sure what's going or where they need to be when they need to be there, or Mark Gronowski doesn't trust them to be there when they need to be there? Jacob Gill seems to be his safety valve at this moment in time, if there is one, because he is where he needs to be when he needs to be there. But he's one of those guys who was the perpetrator of the drops. I think he had how many drops? Do you know how many drops each individual player had? I know he had at least one.
I think he had two.
Okay.
And that Zach Ortworth had one.
Yep.
Which was right in the palm of his hand. Was it Sam Phillips on the other one? I would need to double check.
Seth Anderson had one at his knees that he did not.
That's the other one, but that was kind of like a debatable one. But like he still had both hands on the ball.
Right. And I think you're right. I think Jacob Gill had another one. So that's got to be frustrating, not only for Iowa fans, but for Mark too, to say, this is my safety valve. I know where he's going to be, but as of 2 games, I can't trust him to make the catch that he needs to make. And again, that's a small sample size. He was really good last year with Cade and with Brendan. Cade, a guy who does not throw a ball that has zip like Mark does. And yes. Brendan, a quarterback that he knows, that they had experience together. So getting a guy like Reese Vanderzee back would be massive. I am just flat out at a point, and I'm sure you're there too after however many years you've been on the beat, where it's, man, you can say all these things. You mentioned Kirk being frustrated. You can say the things about, getting to know each other and making each other more comfortable, and like that's great. It's just it's beyond the point of you have to prove it. Like, even if you do prove it against UMass, obviously you're not proving it. And even if you do prove it against Rutgers, it's Rutgers. You have to do it against Indiana. You have to do it against, I mean, at least maybe give it a shot against Oregon and Penn State. Like right now, you know, I tweeted the thing about Intel, which you can check out at HawkeyeInsider.com. From behind the scenes, and I said, you know, there's still belief behind the scenes that this season can be special, and I tweeted, can this season still be special? And within maybe like 10 minutes, I got 5 responses that all said no. Like, and that's just the state of the fan base right now. Obviously, internally they feel a little bit differently, but man, I get it. Like I get it. It's really. It's emblematic of where I was at currently and has been for the last half decade.
There's 2 things I keep coming back to, because I've spent a lot of time over the last like 48 hours thinking about like a lot of big picture stuff about why things are the way they are this early season and everything. The one thing that probably irritated me about yesterday's press conference, and it really shouldn't have, to be honest with you, was when Kirk said we're still getting to know one another and all this. One, there's nobody in the country that had more film at being quarterback than Mark Gronowski. You should have known what you had right when you got to campus and how to formulate an offense around him. And again, Mark has not been perfect. Like, this does not excuse. Mark has to be better. So I don't want to hear people say, oh, Dave is just making excuses for it. I'm not. He has to be better. There's no excuse for it. 2, and I get they didn't have him in spring. Number 2, he's a good athlete. He's not a great athlete. Is this the sort of trouble that Iowa's getting in now because they haven't had a mobile quarterback since C.J. Beathard, if not earlier than that?
Brendan Sullivan, but yeah.
As far as like a consistent guy, you could throw in Sullivan. But at that point, when he was inserted in the starting lineup, they were not going to switch the style of offense that they'd want to run. No. So I'll give him a little bit of a pass for that. But in terms of Gronowski, right, he gets there in January. He's got 55 games starting experience. You scout him in high school, Tim Lester. You know what you have at this point, right? 2, and this does not excuse Lester either, because this ultimately falls on him. It falls on the wide receiver coach, and it falls on Kirk Ferentz, because Kirk Ferentz is ultimately in charge of everything when it comes to the Iowa football program. I think we see an essence of what Tim Lester would like to run with Iowa. I don't think this is his offense. And I'm not saying that from this is Kirk Ferentz's offense. I don't think Iowa has the wide receivers proven enough to run what Tim Lester wants to run. From a skill set standpoint, from an athleticism standpoint, from a sure-handedness standpoint, from an upside standpoint, I think there's a large portion of his playbook that he feels they have no shot at running right now. That ultimately is not going to change until Iowa develops the guys that they have in the system. And again, Reese Vanders, he's out. Even Jarriett Bowie, like the staff's been high on him, but obviously he's been struggling with injuries and stuff. And this is going to be much more of an off-season conversation, a later season conversation, Elliot. So we won't go back and forth too much here. Iowa has to find a way to overpay for a wide receiver, like just an elite guy. But the other side of it too is with where Iowa's at right now in the wide receiver game. Let's say hypothetically Iowa goes out and offers a guy $1 million, wide receiver, to come to Iowa, right? If he gets $700,000 from USC or somewhere else, he's going to USC. $300,000 difference would not be enough to get him to Iowa. Unless, like, he grew up an Iowa fan, he's a Midwest guy, and you have some of those intangible qualities, right? That's a big reason why Mark Gronowski chose Iowa. It wasn't just all the money. His family's 3 hours away. Like, he's a very, Midwest-based guy, very Big Ten-oriented guy. So I know I threw a lot at you. I threw a lot out there. But those are some of the points that, like, as I continue to think about this, ultimately Iowa has to find a way to change the game plan to maximize Mark Gronowski's skill set. I'm not going to fall in the narrative that the guy can't throw, the guy can't play football. You don't throw the ball 10,000 yards and win multiple national titles at the FCS level if you cannot throw a football. He's a competitor. I think he's going to look substantially better this week. I think he's going to look even better at Rutgers. And let's say, hypothetically, Iowa wins the next 2 games and they go and beat Indiana. Mark Gronowski has 3 total touchdowns for 220 all-purpose yards. Then you're looking at, okay, what if they go beat Wisconsin? But again, none of this is going to happen until Iowa finds a way to throw the damn ball through the air.
Now, I think it was probably last week at this time that you and I had this conversation, and we said we were not worried about Mark Gronowski and that we probably wouldn't be at like a fever pitch of a worry until like Indiana. I think that changes. We probably should have qualified that with if they continue to win. Because this loss, in addition to what happened on that last drive and the start of the game, probably brought us where I remember we said we were at like a 3 or a 3.5. Where would you say you're at on maybe like a worriedness scale of Mark Gronowski?
About the passing game or him as a whole? I'm sorry, just Mark or the passing game as a whole?
Yeah. Mark.
4.
Okay.
I don't think he's the problem with the offense. I really, even on that pick that he threw, Elliot, I don't think that was on Mark, quite frankly.
Caden
fell. And maybe it's still a pick, right? But Caden at least can test the ball, and I don't think it's an easy pick. I think he was doing exactly what he had practiced to do. And so, everybody's going to point to Mark there. Quite frankly, I think he's taking too much crap. Again, I know I keep saying this because I feel like now I'm just going to bat for Mark with everything. He's been perfect. No, he's not been perfect. He has to be better. There are plays that need to be made. I like the way he's running the football. That last drive he had against Iowa State, back-to-back sacks, 100% inexcusable. That cannot happen, especially for a guy that's played that much football. But if the receiver play is any better and they throw the ball downfield, like if Mark had threw a pick on that one to Seth Anderson, the PI, I'd be a little bit more worried. That was a perfect pass. He scores if they don't commit a PI on it, right? In my opinion, I think so at least. I'm at a 4, man. The passing game as a whole, I'm about an 8. Like, I'm really worried about the passing game. Mark specifically and his ability to lead Iowa's offense. I'm not quite at the, go put in Hank Brown, like, everything's a panic. Absolutely not.
One, that's not going to happen. They just, no, unless Mark gets hurt, which knock on wood. Now, with Mark, I do think that he is still, or at least he did on Saturday, still going through reads too quickly. I think there are times, especially in the slow mesh, if they continue to run it, where you just got to be a hair more patient than what feels comfortable to you. And I think there are moments like that where a guy like Sam Phillips would have been open. I can't pinpoint the exact route, but I know that there are a couple.
Sure.
There are an exact day. Oh my gosh. Yes, I can pinpoint the day, but the exact play where receivers were either in the process of running the route and Mark made the decision to pull it down and carry it rather than be just a hair more patient and throw it. So that is something that I think Mark specifically can and should improve on. Getting Reese Vanderzee back will help, like we've said, because you have that upside, but you also have the experience. You probably have more sure-handedness than the rest of the roster and the receivers. I'm not necessarily like we came into the season saying the receiver group is like 8 deep in terms of guys that can play. And I do think that's true. And I don't think the issue is ability. From talking to people behind the scenes, and this was included in our intel, so it'll give you a little nugget here, is that it's still a feeling that these guys are not taking their game and imposing it on the defensive backs. They're like allowing, and I'm putting words in somebody's mouth here, but like reading between the lines, it makes it seem like the opposing defensive backs are dictating the passing game of Iowa.
Yeah, absolutely.
there's not a confidence of I'm going to make this happen. There's not a aggressiveness that needs to be there with this receiver group, especially for a guy like Caden Weegan who has the speed. Sam Phillips missed the spring. It's his first year. Did Dayton Howard play against
Dude,
Iowa?
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, that's a guy that I still think his upside's out of the world. I just don't know why he has not been able to piece it together yet. Like, strength-wise, size-wise, like, upside. I mean, it's very clear when you stand next to him and you look at him, Elliot, you're like, that dude looks like a pro wide receiver.
Yeah.
He just looks different based on the room. I think that's a perfect assumption. Now, I'm bringing this up not to pat myself on the back, but this was one of the things I was worried about going into the season. I said, and I got a little crap for it, but not by you or but like in general, right? When we've talked about it, I said, yes, it looks like Iowa has 7 to 8 guys that could potentially play. Is that because the top 3 are not substantially better?
Yeah, you did
than the others? And I was about afraid of the ceiling. And what's that mean? Like, what's the baseline level? I think we were led to believe, and I still think some people within the program believe it, because there are some people that are almost scratching their head. Like, they look so different in practice. Why aren't they doing it? And yes, I know practice talk, but I can't offer anything other than what, people who are directly there are able to tell us. And by the way, I trust these people. We were led to believe the baseline. I know people who listen to this audio are not going to be able to see it. We were led to believe the baseline is here, right? I would say maybe here, upside, no, without an all Big Ten receiver, whatever. It's about right here right now. And that's the issue. Like, they need to have an alpha or two just come out of it to help push the room forward and to give everybody else to drive their way to get there.
That would be Reese Anderson.
And again, he doesn't solve everything.
No.
But one or two elite performers at a position, just everybody looks toward them and basically tries to do everything that they do. A perfect example of this from last season, look at the running back room and the confidence and the depth. Now, Caleb Johnson's gone, but how much better does Iowa feel about the running back depth? They love it.
Yeah.
Because they'll play Nathan McNeil. Now, Nathan McNeil wasn't there, but you get the point. Jazz Patterson, Xavier Williams got to watch all that unfold. Kamari Moulton got to watch all that unfold. Obviously, Kamari's out with an injury. But once you see guys operate a certain way and the success they have, everybody else does the same thing. Iowa has to find an alpha in that wide receiver room to help push everyone forward.
Now, one other thing that I'll point out, I may have said it on our board. I don't know where I said it. I think putting KJ Parker on the field at this point more would not hurt. I think maybe the Caden Weegan wide receiver experience has run its course. He really had a tough day on Saturday. He really
That was his worst game of his career.
Yes. If you're at a situation where you're lacking confidence in the ability of guys to make plays, what have we heard routinely about KJ Parker from behind the scenes? Phenomenal ball skills. Get a guy out there who can make a play on a ball. If you're not sure he's going to run the right route, the dude can track the ball. He can go up and get it. Just put him on the field. Like, at this point, I would have Caden be phenomenal at the return game and stick to it. And maybe you run with him on, jet sweeps and stuff like that. But Sam Phillips can also be that. Like, I think we're at a point too, as well, in rewatching the film, where there was at least one play where Sam Phillips just whiffed on a block. I think it was third or maybe it was 1st and 10, and Xavier Williams was running to that side and got tackled behind the line. Then there's another play, 3rd and 2. It was right before the last field goal that Iowa got. Jazz Patterson is supposed to be the lead blocker for Mark Gronowski, and he whiffs on 2 blockers. Goes right between them. Could have hit one. They probably would have gotten the first down. He falls right between them. So, we always hear execution from this team. It's just about execution. Well, how does that start to come together? That's another point that we're starting to talk about here too, because having Sam Phillips is awesome for his speed. If he can't execute the routes and if he's having trouble blocking, I mean, and I'm not saying you pull him off the field. I'm not at that point yet.
I mean, Reese Vanderzee would have been the starter. Like that's why when the depth
Yes.
chart came out, I looked at you and I'm like, I cannot believe. And again, that's nothing against Sam because the team was praising him for his last few weeks of fall camp. But from a blocking standpoint, the way Iowa likes to operate, you and I looked at each other like, really?
Yeah.
He just doesn't have the size right now and the physicality.
He needs to be part of the receiver rotation because he's one of the more speed-oriented guys, has the hands. Like, I'm not saying pull him off the field, but this is just – they're in a tough spot right now, and it's like it's nut up or shut up time. I think you and I can agree that we've heard not only from – people behind the scenes, but like from Kirk, that this could be one of his teams, where they get better throughout the year. And as long as they win these early games, it could be a special season. And it just does. It's not on that trajectory right now. The other thing that I'll say is in that same vein, they have to start games better. Like Albany,
absolutely.
That's going to be, because you end those first like 2 or 3 drives with a field goal. It's either a tie game or you win. And not only did you have Caden Weegan have that bonehead mistake at the beginning of the game on the return where he like headbutted a guy.
Just weird.
Which is, again, when we talk to him, he is so measured, such a nice dude. I don't know if it's one of those things where you put the helmet on and you become an animal.
No, he's not going to be like Zinedine Zidane and like headbutt us when we're talking.
No.
The media.
No.
But
my point being, like, and I'll ask you a question again: is if you were tasked with doing something different with this offense on that first drive to get it going, to not have a 3 and out on your first possession, what would it be? Also, defer to the second half, Kirk, for once. It's time. Do something different. Okay, I'm sorry. That drives me crazy. Again, that's probably not going to happen just because of who Kirk is. But if you had an opportunity to share your piece and say, do this in the first half so you can have a different outcome, what would it be? Because I
run a slow mesh right out of the gate.
Okay.
If you're against Iowa State, can you imagine if they had run the slow mesh to start that first drive? If Iowa ends up scoring, again, you don't want to play the what-if game. That game goes completely different. But the fact is the scripted plays have been the worst plays, or it feels like over the past several years for Iowa. Like until that last, 13-yard run by Mark to end the first quarter, Elliot, they had 10 total yards on their scripted plays. That can't happen. Why are you what are you spending all week working on if you have 10 yards? Now, again, Iowa State's good defense, not taking anything away from them. But you have to do something a little bit different. You take a shot downfield, right? And the other side of it too is, and this feels like a really bad analogy, but yes, you want to keep, Sam Phillips on the field for his speed and what else he could do. But if you have a guy with speed and he doesn't get the ball, isn't that the equivalent of if a tree falls in a forest and no one is around to hear it, doesn't make a sound? If you have speed, all right, that's great. Are they gonna pull a Fran Brown from Syracuse and run sprints after they narrowly escape with a win? Like, I'm joking, but like at some point, man, like something has to give and they have to keep trying to do stuff. But you're right. I mean, I do think there's confidence internally. I do think there are a lot of issues they need to fix. I guess if you want to look at a positive, I think the offensive line's been pretty good for the most part. I obviously that last drive wasn't spectacular, but at the same time, Mark needs to be able to get rid of the football, right? So the importance of that Indiana game continues to go up and up and up, because I'll tell you, man, if Indiana is ranked and Iowa gets blown out at homecoming again, not homecoming again, but like against a ranked opponent, you are going to take every wind out of the sails in this program, because regardless of how anybody wants to spin it, and Kirk would tell you the same thing, it's not good enough right now. You either beat the teams you're supposed to, but you're going to get a lot of apathy and a lot of anger, one side or the other, if you continue not to show up against teams with a pulse. You have 3 marquee opportunities in Kinnick Stadium this year against 3 good programs because, believe it or not, Indiana's a good football program. Their quarterback's being talked about as a top 10, top 15 draft pick, which is still, in my opinion, a little bit crazy to me. But man, you just keep going back to the offense, and we're 30 minutes into this thing, man. We haven't even talked about the defense and how much better they looked than we thought they were going to look. I'm still worried about a couple of positions. No turnovers is a scary sign because they have to get turnovers. I actually think Iowa's defensive lines played fairly great through the first 2 games. Like, yeah, they didn't get after Rocco a lot, but like they got rid of the ball so quick where if you're only measuring success by sacks, you're not going to be happy. But they were able to force it. Before that last drive, Elliot, Rocco only had like 32 more passing yards than Mark Gronowski. If you tell an Iowa fan going into that game, hey, Iowa State's going to score 16, Rocco Beck's going to have under 150 yards, Iowa's not going to turn the ball over. I'm sorry. Iowa only has 1 turnover. Iowa State has a special teams miscue, regardless if you believe it was a ref mistake or I'm just going by what ended up happening. Mm-hmm. Every single Iowa fan signs up before they know Iowa stats and what Iowa finishes with.
Okay, so a lot there.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah.
just ranting and rambling.
Regarding the starts, I think a majority of us are on the same page that Xavier Williams should probably be the starting running back. Yay? Nay?
I just don't see how you keep throwing TJ Washington out there right now. I like his upside. Maybe you throw in Jazz Patterson, but I also like Jazz Patterson kind of rotating in with Xavier because Jazz is like more punch in the mouth. I like Xavier to tire them out, and then Jazz goes in with the kill shot.
Exactly. I love how they've used, if there's anything that's positive about this offense other than the offensive line, I love how they've used Jazz in these first 2 games. Like you have your starters, you have your guys that'll kick things off, and then once they start to breathe a little heavy, you got Jazz who's got fresh legs, and he is going to punch you in the effing mouth and make it obvious, super hard to tackle him. That is just an added dynamic that he brings that I love, especially once the second, third, fourth quarter come around. I think you have to start with Xavier Williams because he's the most complete back right now. Does he have the game-breaking speed? No. But what he does have is the ability to make you miss, the ability to break tackles, the patience in the zone scheme that you need. And he's shown flashes of Sean Green-esque football at that running back position. I don't know how you can't look at that and say, I know he's a redshirt freshman, but he might be the most talented guy in the group right now. We got to run with him. That is Exhibit A. Exhibit B, I don't know if the receiver, like the line is just not apt at screenplay, but like I don't know that Iowa's run one successful screen at this point. There was that, it was like 3rd and 11 or 2nd and something, and Mark threw that. It was like a swing pass to TJ Washington, and Hayden Large just flat out whiffed on Marcus Neal, and he made that tackle, and Iowa lost 7 yards on that swing pass. That wasn't a screen, but oh my gosh, it was like, Hayden, you're supposed to be one of the better blockers especially as a tight end. What's going on here? Did you not know what was happening? I don't know. You just got to find easy, quick completions for Mark. The way Taylor Mauser sets up easy completions for Rocco and for those tight ends early in the game, take some notes, Tim Lester. Like, it just shouldn't be this hard. And yes, Iowa's running a lot of these outs. And if you threaten them with
column, quite simply, it should not be this hard.
If you're running any deep downfield passing, then those easy routes that you run all the time are going to get a hell of a lot easier for Mark to throw. Warm him up. Like, it's a mixture of those things. When we're talking about the defense, especially after Tuesday, you have to be happy with where they're at considering the lack of experience. There's age, there's time on campus, but lack of experience is one thing that we've been talking about with this defense. And you have to be happy with the way they're performed given that context. TJ Hall has reached that next level.
Yes. Yep. Absolutely.
Which is really encouraging and good to see after all the, early career struggles he had in Iowa. Would not have blamed him if he transferred out at one point or another, especially when Deshaun Lee passed him 2 years ago and gone like FCS or G5 or something. But he has stayed patient and reached that echelon, in my opinion. If not, if you don't think it's there yet, okay, we'll see how it continues to go. But like the way he played on Saturday was indication to me that he has reached that level. The thing about Rocco and the incompletions and the lack of numbers from Saturday drops too. Like
they had a few of them.
Dude, like that guy, his accuracy is wild. I said he's damn good in my film review, and somebody said he's not damn good, he's average. Okay, put him on Iowa's. Like, if there's anybody that can call a quarterback not damn good and average, it is not Iowa fans. I can tell you that right now. And so I'm considering that, especially, I think the way they played, like Cohen came in on that one pass to the near side and just blew it the hell up. That's encouraging to me. I think the run defense is encouraging. You mentioned the defensive line. They are just not generating enough pressure, in my opinion, right now, especially against a guy like Rocco. Granted, they got the ball out quick, so do what you will with that. Jaden Harrell needs to be, I think.
Jaden Harrell's my big concern right now.
He needs to be more consistent. I was probably, I wouldn't say impressed, but maybe encouraged that he can be a more consistent, like just good linebacker. He's not going to be great. I think we've learned that in these first 2 games. He's not going to be Jay Higgins. He's not going to be Jack Campbell, but he'll be good. Carson Shire needs to be a more sure tackler too, though he has that high-end sideline to sideline type play as a linebacker. Deshaun Lee is going to be a concern for me. When he gets matched up with X receivers, with tight ends, he is just too small. Like he can latch onto you, but like that pass to Bress Eskildson on one of those first few drives.
Eskildson, yeah. Sounds
Rocco
right.
just dropped it in. Oh, like maybe you just say, okay, that's just good quarterback play. That's good receiver play and chalk it up as a loss. But Deshaun also got matched up with some of those tight ends, and those tight ends are just too big, too strong. So he's going to struggle against those guys and true X receivers. Okay, now my rant's over. Go ahead, Dave.
No, you're fine. I mean, I think that's still my concern that they have a cornerback too. But then again, if you have a cornerback one that you feel pretty confident in, I mean, that's a game changer for the defense as a whole.
If
Harrell, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Shaheed Barros just needs to, like, it would make me feel more comfortable if he surpasses Deshaun, if he earns that trust, because he's a bigger, longer guy. And if you can have 2 of those guys on your outside, I would feel a lot more comfortable. That's why you went out and got him. If he can surpass Deshaun Lee, that would make me feel a lot better about the passing defense.
I still like Cohen Entringer's upside. I think he's shown me even that hit he had on Burkle after Burkle made that great hit. I mean, that great one-hand catch. Cohen was right there, and he had a good hit on the ball. Like, that's just a hell of a play by Burkle, right? That's, I hate to say, that's when you just chalk up. You could tell, because remember, I asked Kirk about the routes. Kirk brought up Burkle's catch. You could tell he's still so pissed off about that one. The secondary is farther along than I thought. The linebacker play is still a little bit up in the air for me. I like Carson Shire. I think he continues to kind of show me that he could be a pretty good player for Iowa. Defensive line, I know what you mean. I still think they need to be able to get a little bit more pressure, but they did enough good things on film against Iowa State that I'm not really too concerned. Iowa's defense as a whole needs to show me they can get takeaways. Iowa is not going to have a special season or a 9-win season if they don't get takeaways and set an offense that we spent the first 32 minutes talking about. They got to set them up in good field position. I know that's almost unfair pressure to put on the defense, but like that's how Iowa's won games over the last several years. Because I tell you what, it wasn't through passing offense until Iowa gets that figured out. Like I will say the one thing we need to say about the offense that is encouraging, and I actually got to revert back to this conversation. I know we wanted to talk a little bit more about defense, but we have to talk about this because I think this applies moving forward. I loved Iowa's long sustaining drives. That is something they have struggled with over the past several years. I thought they did a nice job of that. I think Jack Leto asked Kirk Ferentz this. Good. I like giving good questions, proper attrition. After rewatching the game, I do believe Iowa should have went for it on 4th and 2. I understood why they kicked the field goal. I really do, man. Like, to tie the game, I get it, right? Are you in that same boat? Because that defense looked pressed. That defense looked tired. And it just looked like Iowa could have potentially gotten a kill shot on them, considering that Iowa State really hadn't driven the ball against Iowa and finished with touchdowns, basically all day.
Yeah. That's how they're going to have to continually be successful offensively, is these long drawn out drives. Like, that's just how they're going to have to operate as a rushing attack, especially. In my opinion, that's how it's going to be. But you also have to have explosive plays, like the deep shot that we've talked about with Anderson, the issue of Iowa State getting lucky. I mean, to revert back to it's a good thing that I just remembered what you said, because I totally just bought a bunch of time right there trying to remember what you were talking about on the 4th and 2 in the kick. I'm sorry, I got distracted. As far as the kick goes, I mean, it's just not who Kirk is, right? I mean, he's just gonna take the points. And he said, even going back and looking at the film, like, no, I'm happy with what we did there. Sometimes you just got to go for it. Sometimes you just, and they did go for it at one point when it was like 4th and 1. And and like the QB sneak is alive and well with Mark Gronowski at Iowa. It's back. We're back with the QB sneak. And what I want to see more of as well is on, like, there's a 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. Sometimes Tim will go to the run play, and I'm just like, run a crossing route with Sam Phillips, run a crossing route with Jacob Gill. And if it's not there, now you got a mobile quarterback who can get to the sticks. And on the 4th and 2, do the same, like, maybe do the same thing, maybe give the ball to Jazz. It is frustrating in a scenario where it's that close, where you've lost 2 of the last 3 at that point in time, now 3 of the last 4, and Kirk hates losing to Iowa State. What? Playing.
I talked myself into it too, by the way. I said right when it happened, I said, I understand why they did it. But when I rewatched the game and the momentum and the opportunity Iowa had, you just feel like it could have been not a kill shot, but man, it would have put a lot more pressure on them.
Playing conservative has gotten Kirk this far. But now the margins are ever thinner.
Somehow.
Sometimes you're going to have to look at those margins and say, might have to deviate from what's worked the last 27 years and go for it on 4th and 2 when you're down 3 with however much time left. I get it. You got one of the best kickers in the country. You're in a scenario where the defense has been playing well, but you're also on a drive where the ball has actually been moving. And what it's going to come down to so much with this offense is finishing the job when it matters. And that's a moment where you look at your quarterback who's passed for 10,000 yards and won 50 games and accomplished all these things and say, you know what? I trust you. And what that's going to do is give the confidence to him, to the receivers, to the offensive line, to the running backs, that you claim the offense needs and doesn't have right now. At least it'll be a step in the right direction. I'm not going to say it's going to be an end-all be-all, right? But it'll help them in that direction. And even if you don't get it, it's like, man, coach is ready to roll with us, go to war. And, you are going to war, but to go to that nth degree does a lot for a young kid's mind.
Yep. It's a hell of a UMass preview we got going on right now,
isn't it? Yeah. What's a minute, man? I couldn't tell you. I don't know that we necessarily even need to preview the game. Like,
we're gonna have our actual written preview up tomorrow at Hawkeye Insider. Let me leave you with this, Elliot, and then we'll skedaddle out of here. What's like the 3 things you want to see on Saturday against UMass? If I need to go first to give you a minute, I will.
I'll give you one. A touchdown pass of 40-plus yards.
Okay.
I would say downfield passing game, but just one touchdown pass of 40-plus yards. Cool. You got me. Once I think I'm out, I'm right back in. I want to see that. I want to see probably at least 2 turnovers by the defense. And I would love to see Xavier Williams start. That's just not. I don't think that's going to happen. But I would love to see that. And if I had to choose between seeing something from the offense and the defense, it's the offense. I want to see Mark Gronowski trust one of his guys to be where they need to be when they need to be there, and then they're there, and then they catch the ball. That could be my 3 things right there. But that's it. If I could say Xavier Williams to start, and I really thought that would happen, that would be one of my 3. But it's a deep pass of 40-plus yards, touchdown pass of 40-plus yards, 2 or more turnovers by the defense, and then a moment where we see, Mark was trusting his receiver or tight end or what have you to make a play on the ball. There you go.
All right. So, I think the things are pretty obvious, and you basically got them. It's multiple turnovers. Like Iowa has to find a way to get turnovers. I'd like to see a pick, and I'd like to see a forced fumble, whether it be in the backfield, whether it be hitting the running back hard, get a pair of turnovers. I want to see 30 passes. I think that's an attainable number. You remember the run the damn ball guy? I'm the throw the damn ball guy. Throw the damn ball. I don't care how much that fails. I don't care how much it succeeds. Get the reps in real game speed, because how many times have we heard, Elliot, you can't replicate game speed. You can go as hard as you want in practice, but it's just different when you get out there. Use the opportunity. This team might be worse than Albany. They very well might be. Seriously. And ultimately, I would love to see more slow mesh offense. I have done it. I thought it was so weird when I watched it on film the first time when Iowa hired Warren. After seeing it in game and the potential it has, I'm not saying make it the fundamental base of your offense, but if Iowa gets that passing game timing, if they get the pre-snap motion, if they get play with the defense's eyes, and then they throw in the slow mesh on top of that, and teams have to worry about all those different systems, you have a chance of doing something. Because right now, and maybe it's changed a little bit with Leicester, because again, this is not the same offense as it used to be, regardless of the results are not where they want it to be right now. Iowa's offense is among the easiest in the country to scout, because what does every opposing coach say about Iowa every single time, Elliot? Well, we know what they're all about. We know what they're going to do. We just need to go out there and stop it. Add in the slow mesh. Run it more. Iowa wins by 40-plus. I think they kick the crap out of them.
I would say they get out to an early lead and sit on it in the second half, so I'll say 30-plus. How's that?
You know what? Forget one of my points. Iowa gets off to a fast start. 2 touchdowns in the first quarter. Yeah. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, good call. That's a good one. I should have, yeah. Okay. All right. Well, there you have it,
inspired
folks.
it, so we'll
Yeah.
just credit you and I.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Good stuff today here on Swarmcast for myself and David Eickholt from HawkeyeInsider.com, 24/7 Sports. Make sure to check out all of our VIP content. We still got a ton of it right now. The talk behind the scenes, how the team's feeling, maybe some adjustments that might be coming down the road. You can check that out again at HawkeyeInsider.com. We're running 60% off right now for new signups. If it's your first year, you get 60% off that entire first year. Would love to have you join us. Don't forget to subscribe, drop a like, drop a comment on YouTube, and of course, leave that rate and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and you can comment on Spotify now. I'm assuming that's universal, or if you have to opt into that, I'm not sure. If you can comment, do it over there on Spotify. We'd love to have you interact with us. So once again, for David Eickholt, I'm Eliot Clough. This was Swarmcast. We will see you next.